Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I am Dear Darling, and shall we see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhollow today? You know what happened recently that was big news in the everything sphere? Okay, maybe not really, but you know. That's right, the Girls Planet 999 finalist lineup or something was revealed. Whoa, what does that mean? I don't really know. It was on, it was on Reddit though. So congratulations to whoever that is. I'm like faintly aware of it because I think it's a reality TV show where they try and make a K-pop group or something like that. That's basically all I know. Anyway, that was a big setup to the joke that actually what happened is Critical Role Season 3 started. But anyway, hello everyone. Right now in Fawnhollow, 6:20 PM on Friday, October 22nd, 2021. Yeah, Critical Role Campaign 3 happened. If you wonder, am I a critter, as I believe they're called? Am I a big Critical Role fan? I like the content and that sort of thing. I have watched a decent chunk of Critical Role Campaign 2, to be honest. I watched it up to like episode 100 or something. Like, and obviously I don't want to give around spoilers if you're like someone who's watching it and hasn't caught up with anything. I watched it up until, let me think, a way to not spoil it. Someone returns from early on the story and they're on a boat. that would, if you know that part, you'll probably know that part. And then for some reason I just never watched any more episodes after that. That was the final episode I watched. Not out of like spite or anything, not out of like, I hate this, don't want to watch it anymore. It was honestly, Critical was very entertaining, and of course it's going to be entertaining. It's made by a load of like professional actors and voice actors and like just all performing and role playing as certain characters. Of course it's going to be like amazingly talented. Yeah, it's just like kind of long, I suppose. And I think I watched it because I didn't have like anything else I particularly wanted to like watch or anything at the time, and I don't remember why exactly. But yeah, I used to watch it on double speed, and honestly, it was very entertaining. It definitely did sort of fuel my desire to play D&D. And then the pandemic happened, and then we didn't play D&D. But you know, it still could happen in the future. And as I've often said, like about 15 million times, I do intend to DM a game at some point. I just haven't got around to it, or like even thought about it to much more than a surface level. But yeah, anyway, Critical Role Campaign 3 started today. I was at least curious enough to go look up their characters and to sort of get like a surface level idea of them. As usual, Sam Riegel's character is very interesting. So certainly, I would say Sam Riegel's new character, Marisha Ray's, and definitely the ones I've got my eye on the most. And I actually haven't watched a video. All I could garner is basically from a Twitch clip, highlights, and from posts on my subreddit, because their VOD doesn't go up on YouTube until Monday. Maybe I'll watch the first episode, maybe I'll get back into it, I don't know. I'm of 2 minds about it. It's a big investment because, like, you know, most of these sort of like D&D campaigns are, to be perfectly fair, and that's not meant to be a knock on them. I think it's awesome if I can stay back committed to it, but you know, like not being a person in my campaign, I suppose my commitment to it is not. Was that from Mira? I think that was from Mira. It's not nearly as high as theirs. But I've heard they have like a whole new studio, and they have like a load of theatrical like lighting setups and that sort of thing, where like they've got a load of things basically they can do, and that seems cool as heck to me. That's like the sort of thing you imagine up when you're like a teenager or a youngster playing like a D&D, being like, oh man, imagine we can play like on a stage like thing. We can have all like this atmospheric lighting, you know, when it turns to night time, we can like dim the lights down and then make it all really like moody, and we can have like stormy, cloudy, and sound effects and projectors and all that sort of thing, or like a huge map in the middle or something for like to replicate like the area for like battles. But that's literally like a pipe dream, so it's pretty awesome. They've managed to make our pipe dream come true. All it takes is to be probably the most successful D&D campaign in history. So just no small feat, of course. Oh, obviously, like they are professionals in the industry, so people who are probably used to organising sort of things like this, and you know they've got the contacts or whatever to be able to ask people like, hey, you willing to undertake this sort of thing, blah 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 blah. And I'm not trying to diminish what they do. I think it's awesome. It's like saying there's definitely sort of pipe dream, but obviously not a very feasible pipe dream for like people like me and you. But that doesn't mean you need to have it to have fun, which I think is the important part really to remember. D&D can be, well, not just D&D, I suppose, any sort of gaming system, not gaming system, but games you play with like group of friends can be enjoyable in your own special way. And they're special because you're playing them with your friends, not necessarily because of a fantastical sort of systems which are surrounding it. I suppose it's just because it's just more doubly more important for them because they're the ones actually performing it for an audience online, a live audience online, or maybe not live. I'm not. It used to be live. I'm not sure if it's still live, to be honest, anymore, because of the whole pandemic situation. Yeah, but actually like performing, quote unquote, to people, so it makes more sense to have a theatricalness. The technology surrounding them, I suppose, should definitely like scale up to what they got. So yeah, had my eye on Marisha Ray and Sam Riegel's character. Am I gonna keep up with it every single week? No, because it airs at like 4 a.m. my time. Definitely not gonna wake up at 4 a.m. to watch them, but maybe it could be a good time for me to like go back in and finish campaign 2, finish that stuff. Am I gonna watch campaign 1? I haven't watched campaign 1. I don't know if I fully intend to at some point. It's possible. It's possible. Critical Role is of course very interesting and it's very entertaining, I must say. And it's a sort of a thing where you're like, oh man, I wish I was an actor or an actress so I could perform that well when it comes to that sort of things. Of course, you know, acting not really my livelihood, so it's not particularly important, but I know how to act particularly well in any stretch of imagination. Yeah, what other like big announcements happened in like popular spheres? Of course, there's a God's Planet thing. I don't really know. Like, I'm mildly aware of like the K-pop. They've had like reality TV shows in the past, because there's one for Eyes One who was at the time. Like, I'm not sure if I'm my favourite group, maybe my favourite or second favourite group. They came from one called Produce 48. There was a big scandal about that where the entire thing was kind of like rigged, apparently, which is like, wow, okay. And not in the sense where it's rigged as in like the directors just be like, oh, they like gave preferential airtime to certain people compared to others. No, it like actually rigged, like the voting was like made up or something, and apparently it was like fraud because it cost money to vote, and I was just like, oh, geez, I'm not going to delve any further into that, but that sounds like a terrible situation. Yeah, apparently it was like a Girls Planet 999, and I think this is a sequel, and I'm surprised there is a sequel after the controversy, but I'm going to assume it's under like different branding, so it's kind of different in like a wink wink nudge nudge sense. I don't know, I'm not an expert. I should probably stop talking about things that I don't know about before like I get hounded. What other announcements? Stardew Valley dev, what's his name, like Hector Gonzalez, is that right? I'm not sure if that's quite right, I'm sorry if that's wrong. The sequel, not the sequel to Stardew Valley, but the next game he's working on has been teased a little bit. I can't remember exactly what it was. Like a chocolatier game, I think. I can't quite recall. I've talked about Stardew Valley before, that sort of thing. I think it's quite cute and it's relaxing, but it turns out that management and that sort of business side of the game didn't really draw me in too much, so it did not have that sort of like just one more day sort of feeling of me. I sort of just played it for a while, but I was like, you know what? I don't know why this isn't clicking for me. But I have recently played with a group of friends, of course, and the only thing I did was fish. I didn't have to interface with any of the other systems, which is, you know, honestly nice for one reason, because it means I didn't have to interface with systems that I didn't really care about. But then also, it did make me think, it sort of like, kind of doesn't make sense for me to be playing this game anymore, I suppose, at that point. But, you know, I still enjoyed it, you know. Of course, hanging out with friends is always fun. But it's always like I suppose, I mean, it doesn't, you're not forced to do that one particular thing. But yeah, I do want to do a D&D campaign at some point. Like, you know, I've got these ideas of well, mostly I say I have ideas of characters because, you know, of course, you know me, I do love good characters and that sort of thing. That's why they're always the ones which are most fleshed out in my mind. But it's a bit more than that, you know, planning a D&D campaign. You've got to have like a world, and you've got to have like systems inside of the world, like religious pantheons, you know, things like that, cities, regions, and they've got to feel different. I don't have to, but that's the sort of world I want to make. I want to make a fully fleshed out and not necessarily living and breathing world, but a world which feels like it exists outside the realm of this game. A world that people think about and reflect upon, which is, I think, quite a noble pursuit, but not one that's particularly attained. Oh, yeah, we should get another fossil before we run back and get changed. Not one that's particularly easily obtained for an amateur, I don't know, the writer, world builder, like me. Doesn't mean it can't be fun though. You know, just hanging out with friends is fun, as I've said for some reason about 20 times throughout this episode. But yeah, so, I don't know, campaign 3 started, it looks cool, probably. If you're a critter, please tell me how it was, if you managed to catch it live. Was it super cool? Who's your favourite character? Or whose characters is your favourite? I don't really remember the characters all too well, to be perfectly honest, I think. Like, never mind, I actually can't remember all the characters, I think. But the thing is, of course, I know literally nothing about them because I could only watch them from the Twitch clips, which is perfectly... Are you thinking, Raymond? I think you're thinking. Which is perfectly fair that they restrict it to sub-only anyway. Because, I mean, it's not... I didn't want to make it sound like, oh, you know, I don't know what's going on because I can't watch it because I only have sub-only for immediate VODs. I'm like, that's not really what I meant. I think it's kind of fair, to be honest. And because they still release the VODs, just like, you know, a couple of days later, so you know, you can still kind of wait for them if you're that way inclined, I suppose. But that'd be a fun thing to do. Imagine if you could like televise your sort of activities with your groups of friends, just for funsies as well. Should it suit you? Did we get 3 fossils? I don't even remember if we did. We did. Okay, let's go get that done. I think it'd be a very enjoyable time. Of course, I'm not going to say that we'd exactly be up to the level of like Matt Mercer and the rest of the crew, but you know, you don't need to. As long as you're having fun, that's the most important part. You know, then becomes an argument, I suppose, if you're the one sort of like uploading it onto like YouTube or Twitch or streaming it or like showing it to other people. It probably should be, you know, perhaps at least kind of above average, or at least enjoyable to watch for people to, you know, actually follow along to it and be like, yeah, this is fun. This is what I want to spend my time doing. And there's actually quite a lot of those sort of D&D campaign podcast. I don't really know to call them podcasts because they're not podcasts, I suppose, and like video podcasts out there. So you know, you can sort of like pick and choose whichever one you like to watch. Like I know what are those brothers called? The three brothers have one. I can't remember. Some other people have one. I don't remember off the top of my head, to be honest. But yeah, you can sort of like pick and choose whichever ones really suit your fancy. For me right now, it's my own personal one, which I've got made up in my head. I just like, I suppose, the concept of storytelling and that sort of thing. Maybe that's really why I want to run a sort of DN campaign. I want to bring a world to life and bring characters to life, which I have in my head. And that's really the best way to act it out, I suppose. But you know, D&D campaigns, with everything, are actually a bit more of a commitment than you might expect. I don't know if I actually ever talked about previous D&D campaigns I played in. I played in 2 during university. I played in 2 during university and 1 after university with a group of friends. Which, you know, they've all stopped now. None of them reached a conclusive end. It's more like we got busy, so we couldn't continue it anymore. That's like kind of a shame with D&D is it requires investment, not just from a DM, like a huge amount of investment from a DM. If you're a DM out there, but my word, props to you. But players also need to be invested as well, you know. The players can't just sort of like stack around and do nothing. They've got to actually do stuff and contribute as well. You know, you can't put all the onus on one person, and, like, if you do. So I'd say, I don't want to call you a bad player necessarily, but please put more effort into your D&D campaign. Your DM's working very hard, probably, to give you all a fun time. Of course, I don't think there's many D&D players who would be watching this video. It's a bit of a niche overlap, shall I say. But yeah, the first one I played was actually, like, I joined my university's D&D. Well, it actually wasn't a D&D club, it was a tabletop role-playing game society, I believe it was called, but, you know, me being a complete newbie to, like, tabletop RPGs or anything like that, I was like, isn't D&D the only one? But, you know, as I find out, there's a lot of different systems, as I now know. Have I experienced any of them, apart from D&D? Nope. Where did this bench go? Wasn't Phoebe here on a bench? I wanted to give her a present, but, you know, she's not here anymore. Oh well, I guess. She's gone. But yeah, I joined the society, and then, like, there was a DM there. He was running Curse of Strahd, which is like a pre-written adventure, D&D 5e adventure. And then there was a load of other, like, people like they were just like, oh yeah, we've got a load of different tables running on. Welcome all you new faces or whatever. Like, sit by whichever one sounds most interesting to you. So I sat by the D&D one because I was like, I want to, like, learn what D&D even is in the first place. And I remember I sat down. There was, how many of us? 5? 6, including with 7 including the DM, I think. And I remember I sat next to someone who played a lot of like D&D and tabletop role-playing. He was like a couple years above me or something like that, and he talked about it, and I was like, oh yeah, basically I have no idea what's going on. He was like, oh no worries, I can show you the ropes. Super, like, friendly, by the way, everyone in that society. You got I was gonna say like give props to them. Like that sounds like a weird thing to say, but yeah, you know, they were all super awesome. And there was like, let me think. There was a guy who sat next to me. He knew what he was doing. There's a girl opposite me. She played before. There was a guy to my left. I think he was new. Then another girl, she was new, and then another guy who also had played before, I believe. And I think I sat at the end of the table. I don't quite recall. And of course, you know, the DM, he had been DMing for a while. It was super fun. We had like an intro session. I didn't really understand what I was doing, to be perfectly honest. But I think we were attacked by gnolls. I played like a human rogue or something. And I remember because he gave us pre-made sheets, obviously, just to speed things along, because, you know, the creation process is quite difficult and overwhelming, I'd say, for a new player, to say the very least. So he had the pre-made ones, and I just like looked at them, and I remember talking to the guy next to me, and he was like, "Oh, I'll play the wizard," and then he was just like, "Normally we don't." And I was like, "I don't know what to play, I think," and maybe I asked him, I can't remember, and I was like, I wonder if I should play a wizard, and then I looked at it, and he was like, wizards are kind of complicated because they've got a lot of spells. As a new player, it's going to be a lot to balance. I was like, you know, I don't want to do that. I guess I'll play a rogue. I think I just kind of grabbed one at random. I remember because there's things on the right side of a sheet, of a D&D character sheet, just being like, hey, these are like your bonds, your ideals, your flaws, that sort of thing, which are meant to be like generic things to sort of like spur a character in the right direction. Like even, and I believe you actually just roll for them. You don't have to roll for them, but you can roll for them on like when you create your character in the first place. The only one I remember is my flaw was like I tend to lie quite a lot, so I was like, okay, I guess I had to lie. So I remember the person had a name. I can't remember what the name was. I think it was like Calvin or something. No, it wasn't like Calvin. It started with C or something. And then like everyone asked me what my name was. Like, all right, I'm gonna lie. My name is Cow. And I remember at the time just being like, I don't know, like I suppose I meant to play this character, so I suppose it's quite normal for me to lie about this sort of thing. But then like I talked to my DM later, and no, I saw my DM's notes later, and he just like noted down like my name was Cow. Like he was like as if I changed a character's name, as if I was like really getting into the character, being like, oh, this is the name I want to come up with them. But we had the only notable thing I really remember doing was like, because you know you hear things about D&D and it's like you can do anything. Kind of true. You can. It's more accurate to perhaps say you can attempt anything. Doesn't mean you can necessarily pull it off. You can try anything, and really, since it's a collaborative sort of storytelling effort, it's kind of up to you and your DM to figure out what's in reason. And there are still like systems and rules in place to make sure you don't do anything completely ridiculous or completely broken. Otherwise you can just, you know, you might as well be playing that sort of playground game where you'd be like, yeah, you didn't shoot me because I got a shield. If you don't know what I'm talking about, that would probably sound nonsensical to you, but whatever. The only notable, I was like, I heard you can sort of do anything, so I just remember being like, can I like do a backflip and land on this creature like as my finishing blow? And he was like, yeah, sure, and like do an acrobatics check. And I remember being so confused about like rolling checks and attacks and that sort of thing, because if you don't know, in D&D, most things I'm going to say roll with a D20 actually is probably the most common thing. Every time you do a check, like every time you try and perform an action, most of the time you'll roll a D20 just to see how well you do it or not. But when you attack, what you have to do is you have to do an attack roll first, which is basically you roll the D20, and if you roll high enough on the D20 plus some other numbers, that means that only determines if you're able to hit the character or not. And then you roll a separate dice, which is your, I don't know what is the damage dice, I think it's called, which depends on how you attacked. Like if you attack with a big greatsword, you might roll a D12 for like potential high numbers. If you just like attack with your fist, attack with a tiny dagger, you might just roll a D4 for smaller numbers or that sort of thing. I remember that really confused me. I could never remember like what die I had to roll. So I felt really bad, like in the first few sessions, like spoilers afterwards, we continued that campaign on for quite a few more sessions, and being like, what do I roll again? Is it do I roll a D20 now? And until I eventually got the hang of it. So thank you to the experienced people there for being much more patient with me. Yeah, the only notable thing I did was I did a sick backflip off a carriage and like backstab. I think it was a gnoll. I actually can't. Maybe it was a wolf. It might have been wolves, like dire wolves or something. Maybe not dire wolves. Sounds a bit high level for like level 1 or wherever we started at. That was only a notable thing. And then I remember Vidian was like, "Hey, do you want to like carry on this campaign? You know, and continue doing this?" And most of us were like, "Yeah." And unfortunately, the guy who sat next to me was like, "I'm going to be definitely too busy. I just like wanted to check things out, I guess, and I don't really remember, but he didn't join us. But yeah, there was that campaign of like a few of us, and then it was like, okay, you know, obviously you don't have to use your pre-made characters, go and we'll meet up again, like, and we'll organise a time, and then we'll like make your character by then. And then I remember we discussed that. I wrote my name like down on a piece of paper, and then like I didn't hear anything about it for like quite a few weeks, and I was like, oh, you know, maybe he just forgot or something. And obviously I couldn't remember his name, so I was like, oh, I was not going to message him. It turns out they made a Facebook group, a Facebook chat about that sort of thing, and tried to added everyone to try and organise the entire thing. But I wasn't added, not maliciously. It's because they added someone else who had exactly the same name as me and went to the same university, I believe. But they just like weren't active on Facebook or something, so we didn't know. Or at least he couldn't tell, like... he basically added the wrong person with the same name. But luckily the other person, the other new girl in my group, she was studying maths like I did, and we were both in first year, so she, I guess, had seen me around or something. Or something, but she was like, hey, I think you got the wrong person. And then I got added to the group, and it was basically like, oh, they had a time organizer or anything. I was like, oh, I'm glad to be added. I didn't even know this was happening. I thought it just like was a thing of the past. But yeah, I rolled up a character. In fact, I think I still have that character sheet in my drawer right now. But I rolled up a Tiefling rogue. Basically because I was like, I kind of at least know what a rogue does. Might as well just like continue rolling with it. Otherwise, yeah, I don't want to learn exactly what a whole new character does or anything like that. Retrospect, probably shouldn't have rolled up a rogue. Not that I hated rogues or anything, but like I think other characters might have been more up my alley. But rogue was interesting. I'll certainly say. You might say what I rolled up. Actually, maybe back at that time, like nowadays, I like bards. They're always my favourite because like I don't know. I guess I like to be performative in that sort of aspect. But maybe back then I was a bit too shy to roll up something as daring as a bard. So maybe rogue was a good place to start. Anyway, I rolled up a rogue because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I think it's still in this drawer, like right next to me. Oh, it might not be anymore. I'm not sure why I moved it. I kept like a little book to make notes, but they were a Tiefling rogue. In my mind, they were. I guess they were non-binary. I never really thought about it over much. But non-binary, but they always kept their like head covered because it was meant to be like really ambiguous. They were called Fate. They were and basically they were a Chunibyo. If you don't know what that is, that's like an American. Oh, this is a wrong book. I'm trying to find it. I want to see what their stats are. I'm not going to give away all the details. It's not very. Maybe the character will return into my DM when I actually DM. That's not my book. Wait, where's the book one? I had a book. It was a book given to me at free at like a careers fair or something. But I don't know exactly. Oh, is this it? This looks like it. Oh, here we go. Is the character in here? Oh, here it is. This is the one I played during a one-shot. It was a level 2 rogue human called Kieran Swiftbolt. Look at that. And I renamed him Cal. Pretty decent stats. This is my character. Fate. What level did we get to? I don't know. Let's see, I got 9 strength, 16 dexterity. What level are we? Level 6. 14 intelligence, 8 wisdom, 16 charisma. Why do I was an arcane trickster. Why do I have such high charisma compared to my intelligence? Okay, basically, well, I didn't know what I was doing, so I sort of wrote whatever. Acrobatics, deception, investigation, persuasion, and sleight of hand. Proficiencies. And you can see my personality traits. This is what I've written down here, okay? Tries to act cooler than they are and are edgy. Macabre and apathetic, but oddly childish. I remember the oddly childish bit. There's so many stories to talk about in this D&D thing. They're basically like rather naive, but like, as I say, they're a Chuny. A Chuny basically being someone who has kind of like, it's called like middle schooler syndrome or something. They had like delusions of grandeur. Like they tried to be like much more like extravagant. They are like, oh, I'm a dark fallen angel of darkness, and I've been sent from the heavens to this mortal realm to try and save humanity or whatever like that. Like I remember them being super dramatic. They like talked in a weird, like dramatic way, which was very difficult to understand. I wasn't the best at role playing them. I will be perfectly honest, but I feel like I could do a better job now. Ideals. This world is too boring. Let's have some fun. Chaotic neutral. I think those ideals actually changed. I think those are my first ideals. Later on, it's sort of been like this. They have like a perfect, like sorry, I'm just talking about this one character I've never played for ages now. It later became like this character has a very set idea on what the world should be like with them and doesn't want to stray things from that reality, I suppose. They're basically lost in a daydream and imagines the world to be very different from how it actually is. I'm just going to walk around and see if we can find a wolf roach, to be honest. Actually, we should deposit some bells away. Oh, I'm sorry, Apollo. Ah, bonds. There's evil in it and influencing me. I will not let it engulf me. I'm going to stay in control. That was like the initial idea. That changed later. I don't even know what bonds is meant to mean. Bonds is like what you're loyal to, right? And flaws. Death and life are meaningless. It's boring. I'm not interested. I talk to voices only I hear. I'm still a child mentally at heart. Okay, that was the initial idea. Basically, they were just super naive. Is what it ended up turning into. They had like childish beliefs. They were unrealistic, I suppose. Let's see. We've got dark vision, hellish resistance, infernal legacy. What the heck is this? Sneak attack, radius 6 thieves can. Uncanny dodge, that's on normal. Heart of darkness. Oh yeah, I remember, because there was like this extra like optional content thing which could be added, which the girl who's played before was like, can we do character origins from this? And I was like, hey, this looks pretty cool, I'm gonna do this too. I didn't know what this means, so that's what the Heart of Darkness stuff is. I don't really remember though. Oh, I remember they collected things. Fine clothes. They have like a million knives and spoons and stuff like that. Oh, this is cute. Oh, let's see what spells I chose. Thaumaturgy, Mage Hands, Dancing Lights, Minor Illusion. Pretty good. Charm Person, Disguise Self, Silent Image, Tasha's Hideous Laughter, Hellish Rebuke, Charisma, Darkness, Level 15 Darkness Charisma. Oh, here you go. 2 ram-like horns, solid red eyes, dark greyish skin, black hair, half over eyes. Very edgy, but amusingly, they were edgy in like a comical way. Well, I thought in a comical way. But they're meant to be edgy in the sense that it was sort of like self-aware. But you came and talked to me, right? Or was it the other way around? Forget about it. But so the villagers do have dialogue about when they forget about what they're talking about. I thought I was tripping every single time I did it, and they just like were like whatever. Small for a tiefling, wears dark leather armor, eye patch over one eye. An outcast, always been fascinated by death. Would often kill things. I don't remember putting this stuff down, but this must have been my initial edgy rogue sort of idea. But you know, everyone always plays an edgy rogue to start off with. But then I didn't like it, so I stopped it. There's also a nice little drawing here. How cute. Possess. They love chaos. Real name is Lost of a Pass. Chiron. I don't know. This story was like what I first had as their story to begin with, but it's had since evolved over the campaign. Because I remember having a conversation at one point being like, I don't know what I'm doing with my character. I don't want to play this edgy character anymore, and you know, it's like make it comic edgy. But yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff they did. At least that's the idea I had of the character, and I don't know if I executed it properly, but you know, I'm gonna bring Fate back. They can come back for whenever I my DN campaign. I'm gonna force them in there. Also, there's no wolf roaches, it turns out. We just don't exist, apparently. We've done Gulliver. We've got like a minute left. I don't know, we got nothing else to do. The only thing I've got left to do, we'll put stuff away, I guess. But yeah, I thought it was good fun. We got up to shenanigans. We got to level 6 apparently, which is, you know, decently far. They're very chaotic, my character, but they're also rather apathetic most of the time. You know, classic edgy rogue, sort of. But I think that was quite fun, sort of looking back and reflecting on it. What would I have done differently? Probably put in more effort to really understand like D&D and its systems and do more research into it, that sort of thing, so I can like establish what I wanted from the game earlier on. Because then I think if I thought about it and looked into it a bit more, I would have realised I want to roleplay, I want to tell a story with my character, that sort of thing. I would have thought more about them and who they were, rather than just trying to make some randomly like, oh, I don't know, let's just like take normal backstory number 1. Sorry, rogue backstory number 1 from bin 2, please, or something like that. And I was like, whatever. But anyway, I don't know. A D&D campaign? Is that what the title of this episode? So yeah, if you're enjoying Critical Role Campaign 3, like, you know, tell me how it goes. Tell me if cool stuff happens, I suppose. Maybe I'll check it out at some point, maybe I won't, I don't know. I'll make no promises. But we'll round off this episode here. So, if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares are greatly appreciated. Join me, Dear Darling Discord. Follow me on Twitter down below. Hope we can see each other again. But for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye bye for now.